Mabuhay, tourist! I'm Madeline Claire Arsoy, your tour guide for today, and welcome to the history of travel and tourism in different eras. For now, let's tackle why is it important to know the travel and tourism history. Knowing the history of the travel and tourism industry is important because it provides insights into its evolution, economic impact, cultural significance, and informs current practices and policy decisions. Hospitality derived from the Latin word hospes, which encompasses the words host, guest, and strangers. While tourism derived from a Greek word for a tool used in describing a circle. It came from the Hebrew word Torah, which means studying, searching, and learning. In early tourism, people have been traveling even before the concept of tourism was developed. People in the past traveled only for business and religious purposes. Romans and Greeks were well-known traders in the past, with extensive trade networks and significant economic influence in their respective eras. In the past, religious travel involved pilgrimages to holy places like Rome and Jerusalem. Pilgrims journeyed to fulfill vows, seek healing, make amends for sins, or show devotion. In the 14th century, English pilgrims increasingly chose Galicia, Spain, home to the Santiago de Compostela Cathedral. In medieval period, the fall of the Roman Empire in the 5th century brought a decline in travel. Travel became difficult, dangerous, and demanding. No one traveled for pleasure during this time. Only the pilgrims and crusaders traveled this time. Renaissance and Elizabeth era. In this period, few renowned universities were developed. The British introduced travel for education. During Queen Elizabeth, young aristocrats seeking court positions were encouraged to travel across to Europe to broaden their knowledge. This practice later extended to a broader group of men. A grand tour became an essential part of a gentleman's education. People also traveled for health and wellnesses. Sick people traveled in sought for a remedy for their illnesses in medieval baths or spa, a term which is derived from the word spa, which means fountain. Entertainment was added, and many watering places evolved into resort hotels. In the 18th and 19th centuries, baths in France, Italy, and Bohemia gained popularity. The Great Bath in England, part of the Roman bath complex, is a well-preserved example of ancient Roman bath houses. The Industrial Revolution transformed tourism by not only introducing technological advancement, but also fostering social changes that heightened the appeal of travel. The combination of improved transportation, increased leisure time, and evolving attitudes towards leisure and culture fueled the expansion of the tourism industry, shaping it into what we recognize today. In 19th century, the advancement of technology made travel more convenient, and in the earlier part of the 19th century, the railway system and the steam power were introduced. This advancement in technology made travel more convenient and comfortable. Photography and instructional materials such as guidebooks and travelogues became popular. One among it was the Baedeker. In the later years of the 19th century, tourism became more organized and it became an institution. Cox and Kings, the first known travel agency, but they only catered to the travel needs of the British Royal Armed Forces. In 1841, Thomas Cook opened the first leisure travel agency. the Thomas Cook and Sons, to help Britons improve their lives by seeing the world. He is the father of tourism. His first excursion trip occurred in 1841 between Leicester and Loughborough, with 571 passengers provided with meals and entertained with brass music. And from 1855, Cook offered a guided vacation abroad. In 1866, he introduced the circular notes, which were accepted in the banks, hotels, restaurants, and shops. This was in effect the first traveler's checks. In 20th century, the development of the travel and tourism industry has been interrupted at several critical points in history, including World War I and World War II. During WW1, tourism came to a standstill due to a combination of factors: travel restrictions, safety concerns, economic hardship, and transportation disruptions hindered people's ability and desire to engage in leisure travel. WW2 led to an increase in travel interest influenced by the advancement in aircraft technology. Air travel became more comfortable and faster compared to other forms of transport. In 21st century, at the start of the century, global events like September 11, 2001, World Trade Center, New York City bombing, the war in Iraq, terrorist attacks, and health scares hit a decline in international travel. The 21st century brought a technology revolution with the Internet's widespread use, reshaping travel services. During the 2000s, online travel booking surged. In 2014, industry leader Expedia expanded its offerings with brands like hotels, Trivago, Hatway Group, and Expedia Cruise Ship Centers. Now, let's move on to the origins of tourism in the Philippines. The first inhabitants of the country roamed around even before the Spaniards came. This was shown in the pieces of archaeological evidence. They traveled to trade, for diplomacy, or war. Spanish occupation. During the Spanish occupation, travels were limited only to education, employment, and religious pilgrimage. Only a few people can travel to a foreign country. In the later part of the 19th century, Spaniards introduced innovations such as railroads, electricity, and telegraph. Manila was open to world trade, and non-Spanish business people, diplomats, and seamen began visiting the city. In 1889, Hotel de Oriente, the city's first deluxe hotel, was opened. American occupation. During the celebration of American independence on July 4, 1912, the Americans opened the Manila Hotel. They transformed the remote rural town of Baguio into a city. In 1935, the first Trans-Pacific flight was inaugurated. In 1937, the country's first private airport was established. It is where the country's first airline, the Philippine Airlines, took its flight in 1941. In earliest tourism organization in the country. In 1952, the country's first tourism association was organized. The Philippine Tourist and Travel Association, PTTA, is an association of all existing travel established that serves domestic. In 1956, the government through RA 1478 created the Board of Travel and Tourist Industry, or BTTI. In 1973, the BTTI was reorganized into the Ministry of Tourism, now known as the Department of Tourism. In 1974, DOT hosted international conferences and sporting events. In 1977, the University of the Philippines offered the first tourism degree course in the country. In 1989, DOT launched its first promotional campaign with the slogan Fiesta Island Philippines. In 2000, the celebration of a public holiday was moved to the nearest weekend. In the 1990s, local civil aviation boosted tourism in the country when budget airlines entered the business and more provincial airports were opened to the international flights. In 2010, tourism in the country faced three major crises. In 2012, Philippine tourism logo featured the tagline "It's more fun in the Philippines" and was known for its vibrant and colorful design. The logo aimed to promote the Philippines as a fun and exciting tourist destination, emphasizing its natural beauty, culture, and hospitality. DOT continued its campaign with Visit the Philippines Here in 2015 and the Visit the Philippines Again in 2016 campaign. DOT relaunched the It's More Fun in the Philippines campaign in 2019 with a few tweaks on the logo. The new logo features a new font and a wave with colors depicting Filipino products, while the previous logo had the Philippine map. In conclusion, the history and origin of travel and tourism are deeply rooted in humanity's fundamental urge for exploration, cultural exchange, and economic activities. From ancient civilizations engaging in trade and cultural exchanges to the development of formalized tourism in the modern era. Travel has played an important role in shaping societies and connecting people across borders. Thank you and mabuhay!